What if I told you that a loaf of bread sparked a revolution that would change the world forever? Picture this, the late 18th century in France. The air is thick with discontent. The monarchy, a system that has held power for centuries, is faltering. The king, Louis XVI, might sit on a throne of gold, but his kingdom is crumbling under the weight of economic hardship. He's a symbol of opulence in a time of scarcity. The stark contrast between the extravagance of the palace and the bare cupboards of commoners is causing a growing resentment, a bubbling anger. Now imagine the society of the time. It's split into three distinct classes, known as estates. The first estate, the clergy, men of the cloth who neither toil in fields nor pay taxes. The second estate, the nobility, men of noble blood living off the fat of the land, exempt from taxation. Then the third estate, the rest of the population, the commoners, the workers, the backbone of the nation. They bear the brunt of the tax burden, they toil, they suffer, they starve. The economic hardship is like a tightening noose around the neck of the third estate. The price of bread, a staple in the diet of the French, skyrockets due to poor harvests and rising costs. Yet, the wages remain stagnant. Imagine being a mother, struggling to feed her children, watching them go to bed hungry night after night. Imagine being a father, working from dawn till dusk, yet not earning enough to put bread on the table. The desperation, the hopelessness, the anger, it's a volatile mix, a powder keg ready to explode. The common people are beginning to question. They're beginning to challenge. They're beginning to demand. They want fairness. They want justice. They want bread. And so, the whispers of revolution begin to echo through the streets, the taverns, the fields. The seeds of discontent have been sown, watered by the tears of the hungry, the overworked, and the oppressed. The stage was set for a revolution, and all it needed was a spark. The spark came in the form of a financial crisis, and the flames of revolution were fanned by the winds of change. The French monarchy, basking in the opulence of Versailles, found itself in a dire financial strait. France's coffers were drained by years of war, mismanagement, and the extravagant lifestyle of the royals. The kingdom was on the brink of bankruptcy. The common people were burdened by heavy taxes, while the clergy and the nobility enjoyed tax exemptions, sowing seeds of resentment. In a desperate attempt to salvage the economy, Louis XVI convened the Estates General in 1789, a legislative body comprising representatives from the three estates, the clergy, the nobility, and the commoners. However, the Estates General was far from a democratic institution. Each estate, irrespective of its size, was granted a single vote. This meant that despite the commoners, or third estate, making up more than 90% of the population, their power was dwarfed by the combined voting strength of the first two estates. This imbalance of power was met with vehement opposition from the third estate, who demanded a voting system based on representation rather than status. When their demands fell on deaf ears, they took a drastic step. On June 17, 1789, the Third Estate declared themselves the National Assembly, a body representing the people of France, not just the privileged classes. This audacious move marked a turning point in French history. The National Assembly was a direct challenge to the absolute monarchy and the antiquated feudal system. It symbolized the common people's defiance against centuries-old oppression. It was the embodiment of their desire for equality, liberty, and fraternity. This was the spark that ignited the revolution. The flames of rebellion spread across the nation, consuming the old order in its wake. The seeds of discontent had sprouted, the winds of change had begun to blow, and the fire of revolution had been kindled. The revolution had begun, and there was no turning back. On July 14, 1789, the revolution found its symbol, the Bastille. The Bastille, an imposing fortress in the heart of Paris, was more than just a prison. It was a symbol of the monarchy's absolute power and the injustices suffered by the French people under King Louis XVI. Its towering walls held not only prisoners, but also the kindling of rebellion. On that fateful day in July, a crowd of Parisians, fueled by anger and desperation, stormed the Bastille. The fortress was not taken easily. The guards put up a fierce fight, but the people's determination was unyielding. The clash echoed through the streets of Paris, a tangible manifestation of the struggle between the monarchy and the people. Finally, after hours of relentless fighting, the Bastille fell. The people, victorious, released the prisoners and seized the fortress's large stores of gunpowder. But this was not just a practical victory. The fall of the Bastille was a powerful symbol, a message to the monarchy that the people would no longer tolerate their abuses. The storming of the Bastille was a turning point in the French Revolution. It marked the end of the people's passive acceptance of the monarchy's rule and the beginning of their active resistance. The act was an embodiment of the revolutionary spirit that swept across France, a spirit that demanded liberty, equality, and fraternity. News of the Bastille's fall spread like wildfire, not just in France but across Europe. It sent a shockwave through the continent, shaking the foundations of the old order. It was a clear sign that the French people were ready to fight for their rights and freedoms, to challenge the very essence of monarchy and aristocracy. The fall of the Bastille was a spark that ignited the flame of revolution, a flame that would burn brightly, consuming the old regime and forging a new society in its wake. For the French people, the Bastille's fall was not just a victory, it was a promise of a brighter, freer future. With the fall of the Bastille, the people had tasted victory, and they wanted more. In the pursuit of liberty, the French Revolution took a dark turn into tyranny. The radical phase of the revolution was marked by a shift from the pursuit of moderate political reform to radical, blood-soaked change. The monarchy's power was waning, and the revolutionaries, once united by a common cause, were now divided by differing visions for France's future. The execution of King Louis XVI in January 1793 was a defining moment that signaled the end of 300 years of Bourbon monarchy. The guillotine, a symbol of equality in death, was now a tool of the revolution, severing the line of kings who had ruled France. This event marked a point of no return, further escalating the violence and chaos that had begun to consume the nation. In the heart of the revolution emerged Maximilien Robespierre, a man whose name would become synonymous with this period of extreme violence known as the Reign of Terror. Robespierre, a once staunch advocate for the rights of the people, found himself at the helm of a regime where suspicion and paranoia reigned. The Committee of Public Safety, under his leadership, set about protecting the newly formed republic from its enemies, both real and imagined. The Reign of Terror, spanning from mid-1793 to mid-1794, was a time of brutal repression. The guillotine was no longer a symbol of equality, but a symbol of fear that loomed over anyone who dared to dissent. An estimated 16,000 individuals were executed during this period, their deaths a chilling testament to the revolution's descent into tyranny. Yet even Robespierre could not escape the terror he had helped to create. In a twist of irony, he too met his end at the guillotine, marking the end of the Reign of Terror. His death was met with relief, but it was a somber reminder of the revolution's cost. The revolution had devoured its own, and yet change was irreversible. The Reign of Terror had shown the world the dangerous potential of radical political change, but it had also set the stage for the birth of modern democracy. The story of the French Revolution, a tale of hope, despair, and transformation, had yet to reach its final act. From the ashes of the old regime, a new system was born. The French Revolution, a dramatic upheaval that shook France to its core, had finally reached its conclusion. The monarchy had been toppled, and the Reign of Terror had ended. But what emerged from this chaos? In the aftermath of the revolution, a young general named Napoleon Bonaparte seized power, declaring himself the first consul of France. Though a dictator in many respects, Napoleon played an instrumental role in establishing many of the democratic institutions we associate with modern France today. He enacted laws known as the Napoleonic Code, which provided for equal rights among citizens and protection of civil liberties. Despite his autocratic rule, Napoleon's influence helped to solidify the principles of the revolution in the French consciousness. But the legacy of the French Revolution extends far beyond the borders of France. The revolution, with its emphasis on liberty, equality, and fraternity, inspired a wave of democratic movements across Europe and the world. It challenged the notion of divine right and absolutism, paving the way for the rise of republics and democracies. In the United States, the echoes of the French Revolution were felt in the drafting of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The revolution's spirit of rebellion and fight for equality resonated with the American revolutionaries, shaping the democratic ideals that the United States was founded upon. In Europe, the French Revolution sparked a series of revolts and uprisings, leading to the collapse of old regimes and the establishment of more democratic governments. From Spain to Russia, the ideals of the revolution were carried forward, challenging the old order and inspiring change. The French Revolution was not just a monumental event in French history, but a turning point in world history. It marked the end of the old world order and the birth of a new one, shaped by the principles of democracy and the rights of the individual. The French Revolution, a testament to the power of the people, a reminder of the cost of freedom and the birthplace of modern democracy.